right, two snowstorm threats to track, and maybe more coming down the pike. Could be a lot of people getting in on the action here before all is said and done. First, if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and help the channel to grow. I appreciate that. So first up is the Canadian model here that we're going to look at, which is by far the most impressive with these two incoming threats here. So this is the Canadian. This is now Sunday morning, and we see we have low pressure forming there over upstate South Carolina. And if you remember from the last video, we talked about this threat, this late weekend threat, and talked about the possibility of this. The model is kind of getting a little more aggressive with it, and that's exactly what we've seen over the last 24 hours or so. So this is the Canadian for Sunday morning. This is now Sunday afternoon. Low pressure moving up to southern Virginia with moderate to heavy snow breaking out to the north and west of the low pressure. So just north of DC, getting into Philadelphia, and starting to break out into New York City at this point. This is now 7 p.m. now on Sunday. Moderate to heavy snow, I-95 or just northwest of 95 in the immediate Philadelphia suburbs, up towards upstate New York. They're getting up into New England, and then starts to move out as we go into the day on Monday. But pretty impressive snowfall totals here on the Canadian. So I'll show you that real quick. Then we'll jump to our next threat. But this is the Canadian showing a good swath of 6 to 10 inches from just northwest of DC up to just northwest of Philadelphia into New York. Now this is probably a little bit overdone. The GFS, we'll zoom in, pull up the GFS here. And this is more likely, I think, is a kind of a 2 to 4, 3 to 6 type event. I think that's what we're looking at, but it is interesting to see some of the models get really aggressive with this. So we'll have to see over the next 12, 24 hours, over the next couple model runs to see which direction do they go. But no doubt, looks like we're going to have a significant snowfall here, a plowable event it looks like for possibly the I-95 corridor. Now going back to the Canadian here, we're going to focus on our next threat, which is also very interesting. All right, so let's pull up our precipitation here. So there you go. So we have another storm system that's going to form, or try to form, as we go into the early part of next week. So this is Monday night now into Tuesday. We see, look at that, the snow breaking out in East Texas to Louisiana, Arkansas, over the Mississippi Valley, a mix just south of that. And then that all shifts to the east. This is now late Tuesday into early Wednesday. And look at that low pressure located right off of the Georgia coast there, the southeast coast. Very heavy snow breaking out from Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina into parts of southeastern North Carolina, with a mix and ice into Florida. So an ice storm for Florida on the Canadian, if that's right. And then that moves east-northeast Wednesday morning, and then out to sea by Wednesday night. Snowfall amounts for this system very, very impressive on the on the Canadian. We'll zoom in onto the southeast here so you can see that. And look at that, 1 to 2 foot snowfall from East Texas up through the Carolinas, up to about the Wilmington area, 1 to 2 feet of snow. So a historical snowstorm on the Canadian. Now the other models, not as aggressive. Some of them actually are really kind of flatten this out and don't have much of anything. This is the GFS for the same time frame. Nothing on the GFS. It does have another storm system forming late in the week, possible nor'easter for the northern mid-Atlantic or the northeast over the weekend, but nothing for that first wave there next week on the GFS. So let's switch over to the European model, see what it has. All right, so there's our first possible snowstorm this weekend on Sunday. There's the European, a little bit lighter, closer to the GFS than it is the Canadian. And then we have our storm system forming over the northern Gulf Coast there on Tuesday. So this is kind of in between there, but again, brings that wintry precipitation along the Gulf Coast. A nice little ice storm for parts of northern Florida Panhandle, and a little bit of light snow up for the Georgia coast and South Carolina coast. Nothing major on the European, but it did take a big step from 6C, which had nothing. This had this completely flat, didn't show really any precipitation there for the southeast coast. So we'll see where that goes. That continues to trend more amped, like the Canadian. And then one more, we'll take a look at the the UCMET, which is the second best model in the world to the European. So we'll show our first storm here on Sunday. So the UCMET is on board with a nice moderate snowstorm for I-95, DC, up through Philly, New York City, and then into Boston. So again, that is on Sunday. And then as we turn our attention to Monday, it starts to form low pressure again in the northern Gulf of Mexico and slides it east-northeast as we go into Tuesday night into Wednesday, and a decent snowstorm there for parts of the southeast with ice just to the south of that. So this would be again Tuesday night into Wednesday. So the UCMET is on board with some type of winter storm there, not as big as the Canadian. Canadian is on the upper ranges, obviously showing a historical solution there for the East Texas into the southeast. The UCMET has been consistent with showing a snowstorm. Some of its previous models has been big, kind of up there with the Canadian. So different camps forming. GFS nothing, European, little bit of light snow for parts of the southeast, ice storm for Florida. UCMET kind of in between there. So we'll see which direction this goes, but quite a big spread of possible solutions. Could be nothing, could be a major snowstorm. So all scenarios still on the table at this point. We'll have to see what happens with the overnight models and then into the day tomorrow to see if they start to latch on and come to some type of consensus. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.